up, y'all? This is Veriendha, and welcome to this Sounding of the Horn. In this special edition of Tarvalon Talks, we sit down with a few Tarvalon.net members at this year's Annie to chat about Annie, their experiences with Tarvalon.net, how they got into the Wheel of Time, and other fun stories. Enjoy!
This is Veriendha.
This is Megana.
This is Maybella.
This is Bindri.
This is Annika.
And you know me.
So we are at Annie 2022, the 21st, right?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, I was really worried I was going to screw that up. Because on the back
In
of the...
cabin 23.
In cabin 23.
Which is actually cabin 5.
Six.
Yes.
I really hate
Inception.
how the cabin numbers did not match with the cabin numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know how that happened. Did we end up with cabins all in a row?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all in one big row? Okay.
It's not in order.
Oh, that does not make
No,
my
no,
brain
it does
happy.
That's what makes it interesting.
Nothing screams Annie but logistics.
Yeah. And chaos happening at all random times.
Hearing cats talk about what all goes into planning of such a massive event, and yeah, it's 80 people. It's not compared to like a con or something like that, but
It is a con because we all have so many needs. You know, when you go to a con, you kind of understand the fact that, okay, there's going to be limited gluten-free, there's going to be limited this, I'll bring my own stuff. But here, we make a really big effort to include everyone based on your, you know, if you're wheelchair accessible, if you have dietary restrictions, we keep all of that in mind. They can't do that at a con. So this is way more complex than a con in some ways.
it's not like you're having it at a major metropolitan hotel, right? Where there are already those kind of accommodations. So
Yeah, if there's a problem, go get your own thing.
Right.
Not here.
Exactly.
They're the ones that make those accommodations.
There was a very
happen.
sketchy restaurant down the road. Just like way down
It's called restaurant.
Restaurants are strong.
I guarantee you there's something vegan on the menu.
Yeah.
we're driving down here. Our road trip mate, he's like, ooh, barbecue. And we're like, wait. Is it like barbecue, like chain restaurant barbecue, or is it like local barbecue? He's like, it's local. But sign us up. And
There's only
delicious.
one answer to that.
Oh,
To barbecue? No, there's Memphis. There's
Kansas City.
No, the answer is, are we going to go or not?
Well, yes.
that's not a question. That's a yes. We are.
Okay, but that's a really good question. Memphis, Kansas City, Carolina, or Texas?
We digress.
Carolina.
So
The answer is yes.
as a Tennessean, Carolina.
Yeah, I agree to that.
See, it's good.
Those are Wisconsin.
So-
Memphis is overrated.
So while the rest of you are getting wrong answers, the correct answer is Kansas City.
To be fair, I've never
I don't know
had
about that.
What?
Huh.
Kansas
Hello, friend.
City. Kansas City dry rub with the light sweet sauce.
It's dry.
I don't like
Sweet
dry.
doesn't belong.
I like
Yeah, it does.
With a
I like
with
a
with
vinegar.
with
I love the vinegar. I want the zing.
Barbecue needs a good mustard base. That's what makes it.
Easter.
No, that's like the worst.
I have no horse in this race. I don't like barbecue.
You're also just wrong.
I'm not a picky eater. I'm perfectly okay with Wits.
So long as it's meat.
Wait, wits?
Wits barbecue.
It's
Yeah.
a chain. Local
It's a chain. It's a chain in the South that's passable.
Okay. Gotcha.
All we have in Wisconsin is Dickies.
Never heard of it.
I've heard of Dickies. I don't even eat barbecue. I don't know why I've heard of
It's a
Dickies.
test.
I thought that was a sporting goods store.
That's dicks.
So as you clearly can tell, we come from all around the states to gather up once a year for anniversary. So does anybody want to explain what Annie actually is?
A good time.
I describe it as summer camp for grown-ups.
Yes, that's a great way. To
Not the
describe
Jesus kind.
No, I didn't say church camp. I said summer camp.
That's the only kind of camp I ever knew about.
I heard somebody in the opening ceremony say, what was it, a book club with a
Book club,
drinking
a drinking club with a book problem.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's a drinking club with a book. That's a constant toast.
Yeah.
All me t-shirts.
I think I told you guys this earlier in the evening, but whenever my mom texted me, she was texting me because she assumed that my husband was out deer hunting because deer hunting season started yesterday. I said, no, I'm in Tennessee. And she said, oh, are you at the Tennessee Mizzou football game? I've never had any interest in college football at all in my entire life, so I don't know why she would assume that. I said, no, Mom, I'm at my nerd retreat.
That's what you described it. Retreat.
To be fair, Tennessee did beat Alabama for the first time in like 15 years.
And that was a big deal.
Well, I don't
Yes.
sport, so I don't know what that means.
I'm there with you on that.
I only know because in Gray there are a few people that are very into this and reported it all to the rest of us.
But at the end of the day, Annie, so this coming from the newest member, at least at this table, this is the anniversary of when the site was founded, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's 21 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
And I don't think it has anything to do with the specific time of year. It's just originally Annie was held in the spring, now it's held in the fall. Variety of reasons for that.
Is it 21 years ago, or did COVID throw off the...
No, that's that.
No,
This is the
that's
21st, but it's our
As
19th
much as
in-person
yeah,
event.
as much as time seemed to have paused, it actually kept
Yeah. So yeah, it's just about celebrating the annual anniversary. It's kind of like the Queen's birthday. You just pick a date. You know, it's not the actual Queen's.
Let's roll with it.
timing for that analogy.
Oh, all right. Sorry about that, but you know what I mean.
What have you done?
But what did Cassie, our new Amerlin, say? It was 3 years since
Our last
officially
in-person
Yeah,
event,
the
yeah.
last
our last
I
in-person
believe-
event.
Other than
October-
your party. Other
Right.
than your party.
On US soil. So I think
US
she
soil.
said October 2019 was the last US gathering,
Yeah.
and then Euro Party was just a few months ago. I don't remember
Yep.
what month it was, but it was a few
It was
months
only
ago.
like 2 months ago.
Right.
Everyone got COVID.
Well, whole different story.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed for this event.
We'll see.
Despite all precautions taken.
The next
Thanksgiving might be
podcast
right.
may or may not happen because we all may have COVID.
We're all coughing, you know what.
We'll just celebrate Thanksgiving together. It's fine.
It's
Great.
great. We'll eat the same turkey. We'll lick each other's
So I think you're
food.
probably
To be honest.
person at this table who's been on the tower. When did you join?
No.
By no means. No, I joined in 2016.
Oh, so I'm the oldest.
Yes, you are.
When did you join?
2010. Well, I joined.
2012.
I joined in 2005, but I was a really dumb college kid with a ton of not quite ADD problems, but I struggled to keep up with stuff, and so I think I was just obsessed with it for probably a solid 30 days, and then finals. So then I was talking with an old friend who had read the books, and I was like, wait a second, I never finished the books, nor did I ever finish posting that one thing about a joke, in 2005. So then I just looked and I was like, yeah, the site's still there. So I rejoined, same name, different picture, but so yeah, that was 2010, and it's been
So that you were 2016.
Yeah.
Annika 2010. Benji
2012.
Benji's 2012. I was 2013.
2012.
Okay.
2022.
Yesterday.
She's just a baby.
well, yeah. So this is, I think, this would be my 11th, no,
Yeah.
12th year, whatever. But I am by far no means the oldest person on this.
No.
site.
No, not at all.
So out of everybody that you guys have seen at Annie this year, who do you think has the longest tenure?
It's got to be Sean, right?
I think so.
Well, I'm gonna do
gonna-
my Grace and I sister Ilverin proud and look in the
Well,
library.
what about Toral?
Toral.
Is Pearl here too?
Toral, when we did the
He did all the book
quiz,
questions.
he was the trivia. He was the book person.
Tor's
That's
the one
Toral.
who's built the library. The library from which Brandon Sanderson frequently went to, our library, to finish
Toral-
writing The Wheel of
Toral
Time.
was
He
literally
populated the library.
He did. All of it. Pretty much.
It's all in his head.
Toral
Yeah.
is the goat of
Okay, so-
real time.
Toral joined Tarvalon.net October 28th, 2002.
Yeah.
Okay, and I will look up, you said Sean?
Yeah, Sean D.
Hang on, Sean.
While you're doing that, I'd also like to point out the fact that the library is very much Toral's baby. And after everyone was raised the other
Yes.
night,
Last
last
night.
night, He had the whole library and everything fixed by 2 a.m. to
Yeah.
reflect all those changes.
I wonder how mad Ilverin was.
He does not mess around.
They're working together. So it's
like
like
this morning for our first sister thing. Like,
Yeah.
we,
He
like
is
immediately, I was
dedicated.
just like, I'm getting moving on this.
Yes. So Sean Aldragaran joined Tarvalon.net November 21st, 2004.
Oh, so
All right.
Toral's
So it's
Toral's
for
2 years older.
Yeah. And 20, yeah, that's when it started. It was pretty much
Yeah.
0102.
For the record, Toral joined the year my son was born. So it's like the age, his term on the
So,
site is
yeah.
my son turns 21 in a
21
few
January,
months.
yeah.
So he can drink now.
He will in January.
will in
Yeah,
January.
Toral can drink.
That'd be really neat to get Toral on the podcast.
That would
We
be
were talking
that is
about
definitely.
Yeah,
You could
that's
pick a
one-
lot
Yeah,
from
that's
his
one
brain.
Oh my gosh. So for
fun fact for y'all. That man put in work.
yeah.
Yeah.
We did trivia last night, which is part of the annual Amerlin's tournament. So there's different activities that happen, and one of those is trivia. And last night's categories included some questions about our site, some questions about the books themselves, the show, some random music
The
questions,
place where we're hosting.
and a few questions about Tennessee, which is where we're hosting. And Toral created the questions for the book.
And he was merciless.
He was.
It's hard. There was 31 points available out of 10 questions. A lot of the questions were things like, when Rand goes to Ruidian, he sees his ancestors. There were 8 of them named. Name as many as you can.
Oh, God.
I didn't know they had names.
They all had names, but I cannot
Yeah,
remember.
and the
any
thing
of
is,
them.
he knows, like, it's all in his head. He didn't, I'm sure he did not have to look that up. He just knows that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, and I think there was one answer that somebody had contested,
Yes.
and then somebody else chimed in. They're like, "If Toral says it's this,
It
we're
is.
going
So I-
with
the
this."
So then one of the people contesting it
The
was like, well,
question
do we trust
was,
Toral for?
yes. The question was, when the initial group leaves Emmons Field, or leaves the Two Rivers, one of that group was not born there. Who was it? And the answer was Randall Thor. But someone said, no, it's Nynaeve as well. And this, whoever it was that gave the answer, was arguing that Nynaeve wasn't born in the Two Rivers, but not in Emmons Field. And Toral's like, that is never actually stated in the books. And someone else is like, if Toral says it, it's like gospel truth right
Yeah,
there.
because no, that was a fact that was in the TV show, but not in
Right.
the books.
Right.
Yeah, see, and so that's an important distinction because we were on the book section of
Yeah.
trivia.
That's
It
why.
almost
I
makes
wonder
me
if they're
wish.
going to include a TV section
They
next
did.
time.
I did. Just
Oh, you
last
did?
year.
We had questions about the TV show. You just missed those.
Oh,
That-
sorry.
that-
I had
that
to
almost-
hunt people at that.
Oh,
It almost makes me
Too
wish
much
that I
to
did the trivia last night because
So trivia
I
was a lot of
I
fun.
backed out on it because I was just like, I just want Wheel of Time stuff, and when
There was a lot of Wheel of Time.
There was a lot of Wheel of Time,
We
but-
did one
It was
section.
mostly Will
Even the unrelated stuff.
Yeah, the
sometimes
music,
had a little
the
time.
music
Really?
ones. Ryan, our newest soldier, had come up with those questions. Some of them had to do with Tennessee. Some of them had to do with, like, one was about who the composer of the music from the show. 10 questions, music related, but that was the only deviation other than the last 5 bonus round about the state of Tennessee where we are.
Those music questions were really good. They were honestly my favorite.
They were good.
I did.
Okay, good. Because
Yeah.
he felt like he
I told him first thing this morning.
failed. Good for you.
Really? No,
Yeah.
he did fabulous.
Yeah,
He was
yep.
beating himself up.
That's what I said.
So
He did a fabulous job.
I will throw him under the bus for the Pokemon question.
Because it started with the best Pokemon ever.
Yeah, the best Pokemon. What does he follow? What musical instrument does he fall asleep to? And I'm like, I don't know Pokemon.
Well, he did say the best Pokemon Snorlax.
Well, yeah, but
Well, that,
what the debate was, is it the best Pokemon or not? That's a whole
Well,
other
it's
conversation.
because what's on our door.
Which
Yes.
totally makes sense.
So
now.
that's another point we should point out. When you attend Annie, you are assigned to a cabin with other
And
people.
you're encouraged to decorate.
Right, and our cabin, I think, had 8 people, 10,
Nine.
what, 9? We have 9 people in this cabin.
10.
And there's sometimes contests for door decorations and things. Our cabin happens to include people from the Gray Aja, the Yellow Aja, Green Aja, a soldier, Daima Hale, and am I missing anyone?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. And so we tried to come up with something that might be appropriate, and Ryan actually came up with a poem that included all of our things. Annika decorated our cabin door, and somehow we discovered early on that most of us in this cabin snore. And so we named our cabin Teleron Rishnor.
Obstructive sleep apnea is extremely common.
Have I ever told you guys how I finished the series?
No.
Okay, so we started reading the series in 2020 during lockdown. We have a couple college friends. They had been wanting us to read the series for damn near a decade, and so finally we had the time to sit down and do it. And we knew the show was coming out, so we went ahead and do it. I get like 3/4 of the way through Eye of the World, and I was like, oh. And I tapped my husband on the shoulder. I was like, download the ebook. He goes, why? Because we're going to read this together. And this is going to happen, and we're going to finish it. And sure enough, like we read it together for the most part over the next however many months. And we get to A Memory of Light. And we're getting towards the end of the book. And I was like, hey, why don't we like read the last chapter together?
Oh, that last chapter's long.
It is. It's 300 pages.
And you got through it without crying?
Oh no, there was so much crying. So much crying and so much like, no, oh, don't tell me I'm not there yet. It was, but we got to the same part in A Memory of Light early in a week, and we're like, okay, stop reading. And so that Friday night, we went to the grocery store and we bought a crap ton of snacks and like a ridiculous, probably heart palpitation amount of caffeine. And we put the kids to bed and we sit down in our living room and he's on the ebook and I'm on the hardback and we crack it open and we start to read the last chapter. And so we read through, or not the last chapter, but the last battle. So we go through it and we start reading and like, it actually worked out really well. Like we both read at approximately the same pace. But there were like some times where like he would get to a part and he'd be like, oh no. And be like, shut up, I'm not there yet. Shut up. Or like I would get to a part and I'd start bawling. He'd be like, are you okay? I'm like, you're not there yet. Just wait. But we read it approximately the same pace. And I think we finished it at like 3 a.m.
Wow.
But we finished
we did it together.
We did it together. And it was just like, and it was very much so one of those book series where like you spend the next week or so in a daze and you're just you're not quite sure what to do
You're
with your
still
life.
computing and downloading and figuring it all
Yes.
out. Yes. And you're trying to separate your emotions from it, but you can't because you've lived it for 14 books.
Right.
Well, and like what we did, since we're so new to the series and the series had been finished, we were able to binge the whole thing.
Right.
So it had been literally our life for however many months to get through the whole thing. And so like the next thing was like, okay, well, what am I going to read next? Like, I can't even like
Nothing. Start reading nothing.
I can't even think about what to do next. Like there's no next yet. Next doesn't exist.
I know.
So, Uncle, when you first read the books, how did you find them? And were you reading like when they were coming out, or what was your deal?
No, so I have a twin sister and we both went to school together, both of us for music education, which was a really shitty idea. But she was dating one of the trumpet. We were both in the marching band at our university. She was dating one of the trumpet players, and he was a real piece of work, and nobody liked him. But you couldn't convince her of that. But the only good thing was that he was obsessed with Wheel of Time, and so he was like, "You have to read this book if you're going to be my girlfriend. You have to read it. You have to know about it. You have to like live it." And so she's like, "Okay, yes, whatever you say, okay." And I'm sitting there just like, "Oh my God, this is the worst thing ever." Like, don't listen to him. But anyway, so she gets like, she can't even get through the prologue, and she's beating herself up about it because it's 100 pages long, and she's bored. And she's like, "Oh, he really, really wants me to read this, and I want to do this for him." And she just couldn't, so she's all upset. And I was like, "Okay, drop the book and drop him," which she did. But then she was like, "I don't even want the book anymore." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I took the book, and when I was desperate to avoid finals that year, it was on my bookshelf. So I start reading it, and I was like, "How could she not get through this first 100 pages?" And I just like burned through it, and I was like, "God, I hate that guy she was dating, but this is an amazing book." And so I just like, it was probably every 2 to 3 weeks I was like finishing a book, and then I'm dating myself, drive immediately to Walden Books to
Yes, Walden Books. You are not the only
to buy the next book and go home, forget whatever papers, whatever I had to, and just read, and I did that for months. I got through. Well, then I finished book 10. And I was like, yes, back to Walden books, and book 10 didn't exist.
Oh no.
And I sat there like in the aisle, looking at books 1 through 9, like, don't cry, it's gonna be okay. So I go to the register and I pre-order it, and I get so excited it's gonna come out on my birthday in a year, and I was like, yes. Well, year comes around, it's my birthday, I go pick up the book and I start reading immediately. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So I completely like ignored, like I put it away. I was so mad. I just didn't want to look at it, put it away. And then I graduated with I had a degree in music education, which, like I said, was a bad idea. And I taught for 3 years, and it was the most miserable 3 years of my life because teaching is not a good fit for me. And so I was just kind of looking for a good distraction, and was walking through, again, dating myself, Borders. And
those
those
days.
So you know you're going to say Blockbuster.
So, hey, I was there the day Blockbuster in La Crosse, Wisconsin closed. Yeah, anyway, so I'm wandering through looking for a new book in Borders, and I happened to like walk by the fantasy section, and I was like, oh yeah, Robert Jordan, like Brandon Sanderson, what? Like, and then I had to like research what the hell I was looking at, because I was like, this
you
looks like
missed
the
the
Wheel
whole
of Time. I
thing.
didn't know any of it.
You were really out of the
I
loop.
really was. And so I'm just looking at it. I was like, okay, so I buy it.
Oh my god.
And it was book 11. It was book 12, I think. And so I go back and I'm like, okay, I've got to get back into this. So there's a blog on Tor.com. Leigh Butler does the reread. And so I read through all of hers and laughed my ass off for about a month, just rereading all of her blogs. And I got caught up. And then I burned through the rest of the books. And I was just like, how did I ignore this for years? And it really kind of got me through those last like 6 months of that, like, of when I quit teaching, and I was going to change my life around and go to a different degree, and it was just sort of like this friend that was with me, and I was so appreciative of it. And so when it finally ended, it was kind of like a relative died, and I was just like, this has been such a big part of my life. And I got back into the books when I was I got back into the books and then the Tower, TV.net, when everything was kind of falling apart in my life, and so it was just like, oh, I need this. So
That's I am flabbergasted that you were engrossed by the prologue, because I hated the prologue. I hate it to this day. I remember reading it and being like,
there's
I
so
don't
much
know.
emotion in it.
I don't know what's going on. And then
this is the prologue in
I remember being like, I'm really confused, but okay, I'm in, but I'm confused. And then we go to like this little tiny village, and
right.
and I kept waiting to be like, okay, we're going to go back, and they're going to explain what this is. And they never explained for a very long time. And I was like, I honestly forgot about the prologue even existed.
and then immediately
Right,
forgot.
because they never came into
I
it.
loved it because Bruce Theron is feeling every emotion there is.
It's tragic.
It is.
It was a roller coaster.
It sucks you in.
The thing that sucked me in, and no one else seems to have been impacted the same way, but when I got to the part where, really early on, where Rand is like traveling to Emmons Field, and he sees the rider in the distance, and then the wind's blowing and the rider's cloak isn't moving. I remember to this day getting chills in that scene and being like, I am in.
Yep.
And to be fair, so I had to look this up. The Eye of the World came out in 1990.
The best year.
Sad. Okay, a different story. I know, right? So it came out. I know. So
There's a 13-year age gap here.
okay, so it came out in 1990, and my dad was my intro to all things fantasy. So he introduced me to Lord of the Rings when I was 7, and my mother thinks anything that is not historically accurate is a waste of time. So my dad is like handing me fantasy books. My mother's like, you're wasting your time. But anyway,
You know he did it to spite her.
so
You don't know her dad.
he's the sweetest thing. But anyway, so he hands me this book at whatever point, and I want to say that either 2 or 3 books were out at the time, and I was in high school. And so he says, this is really good, you should read this. And so my sister and I both read them. We had the whole hilarious thing where when you start talking to someone, you realize you're all pronouncing it differently. So I said, I don't remember how I said I at the time, but my sister used to call them ascetes or something. I don't even know, like whatever it was. So, but anyway, so I
said I was easy one. Aiel was the one that tripped me up all the time.
Yeah, which one?
Aiel.
The ale, ale.
See, I think like when I was reading one of the first times the ale came in, I was like, "What are you?" And I flipped to the back of the book.
No!
Yeah, pronunciation.
I did that, and then I was like, no, that's
No,
wrong.
I refuse.
Yeah, so I have been reading these since I was in high school in the 90s. And I would do that, go to the bookstore, like my parents would take us to the mall or whatever, and I would beeline for whatever bookstore was there to see if the next book was out. So I had been waiting for new books since book 3 or 4 or whatever, and I had been reading through them slowly. Yes, and I remember waiting, and I wasn't really involved in anything online at all, but I remember waiting, like, where's that next book? What's going on? And I did some Googling at some point while I was at work one day, and it just so happened to be within 24 hours of when Robert Jordan had died.
Oh wow!
And that's when I was Googling and found this information. And I was like, no. And I'm at my job at the time, and I'm trying not to like sob here because this is like this thing I had been reading since I was like 13, 14, whatever it was, years old at the time. It was a lot, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So fast forward a while, and then I hear that the next book is coming out. And at the time, I used to have a book review blog, and I used to review all sorts of things. And I had a relatively reasonable following in my area. And I think it was Tor Books that put on like the promotional tour for Brandon's signing. And he was going to go to the local bookstores. I think it was like a Books A Million. And you could apply, so it was a gathering storm. You could apply to be a storm leader. And the storm leaders were like local promo, and you had to show that you could hype this in some way. Oh, wow. And if you could, and you got selected, you would get to volunteer at the event, and you could meet Brandon. Harriet was going to be there. You could, and you were like assisting with lines and handing things out. So I got accepted to do this, and I looked that up. That was in 2009. I had never heard of the site up till that point. And the book was coming out. I was super excited. We all got t-shirts, black t-shirts that said The Gathering Storm and all this info. We got to have dinner with Brandon and Harriet. And I have some really cool, the picture just
posters
on
the raffle.
The picture just popped up on my timeline from like 13 years ago, whatever it was. And that was the first time. So I'm there and I'm helping with the signing. And there are people there who are like talking about this Tarvalon.net thing, and I have no idea what it is. So another person who was a storm leader with me was Adolla Ceryia.
No.
And that is how I met her. That is how I was introduced to the site. And right? So she kept telling me, oh yeah, you should really join the site, and it's really fun, and we have these classes, and you could do these things. And I was like, I want to take a class. Like, I am not the type of person that dives like into the book and then wants to like do a class on the book. That's not me. So she's like, you could, right? And it's everybody here. What's the thing? She's like, you can take a class all about things at the tower. And I was like, that sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to do that. So then, and there were other people from the tower who were there. I obviously didn't know them, but we met them briefly. Probably forgot who they were. The next year comes around, and now we're going to have Towers of Midnight coming out. And they were looking for volunteers again. Of course, I can't do it again, but I'm still connected in this little chat. And so I knew Adolla was going, and I hadn't talked to her like in a year. And I wanted to go. I wanted to get the book signed, so I went again. And I don't remember which of these events that it was, but Viv came to the signing in Maryland from whatever state she was living in.
Colorado.
And this is Viviana.
Viviana, who was the Umberland at the time. So she came. Right. Yep. And she was getting her, like, to get her book signed. She was, like, volunteering with a bunch of stuff. And I was like, this person just flew from several states away to do this thing. And it's Sean's her warder, right? Because Sean was there. Sean lived in Maryland.
Yeah.
And
Who's Sean on the tower?
Sean Dragon.
Sean Dragon.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. And
One of the founders,
I want to say, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but I think that was when, like, we were in conversation, and he's like, I want to get this book signed on this page because my company is mentioned as SDS. And I had no idea.
There's a
competition for that.
There's a member of the tower.
There's several members.
Right.
Of the
There was competitions that were happening. Right.
What was that?
There's members of the tower whose tower names are in.
Well, the first one was Padra Sedai.
Right.
She was the blue-eyed Sedai who died of breast cancer, and Brandon Sanderson took her and made her one of the characters.
Yeah.
Aren't the companies mentioned? in
No,
it?
only SDS.
Only
SDS. I think, yeah. So and I'm hearing these things, and I was like, how did this person, like this, whatever this name is, how did they get connected? And again, this is the second year, and now these people are telling me you should join this site. I don't want to do that. And so I decided I was going to wait until I finished the final book, whenever that was, and then I would join. I would just see what it was all about. And so I waited until I had finished all of the books, all the way through, and that's finally when I joined the tower, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, it's Adolla who's the one who convinced me. So
I absolutely 100% love that Adolla was the one that.
yeah. So we both lived in the same state, and which was where that was being hosted. Oh, and then and like Benji was just saying, at Annie we do like these raffle items, and those are items that are donated by people who attend. So we recently moved, and in cleaning out the house, I found some of the items from that Gathering Storm book signing. So I had a poster. Books a Million, 2009. Right, exactly. That was my favorite store. Brandon, there was a poster, a promotional poster that said Gathering Storm, Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson. And there's a picture of Brandon looking significantly younger, as we all did in 2009. Oh yeah. And he signed it. So I have that poster that people can like put tickets in to raffle. And then there was 2 bumper stickers that were very popular at the time.
Was one of them Bella's a dark friend?
Bella's a dark friend. It's downstairs. You can enter. And the other one is I Killed Asmodean.
Love it.
Yes.
So those are both down there, and I found them while I was cleaning, and I was like, you guys, these people will love, someone else will enjoy having these things.
I put 3 tickets in each of those.
So that's another good point for anniversary is that they do a silent auction every year.
Yes.
And where does the silent auction money go?
There's a local
2 places. Every anniversary party, we choose a local charity to donate half the proceeds to. This year it is the Ronald McDonald House for this area in Tennessee. Other ones that we've done have been like literacy foundations for helping kids read. There's been a women's shelter, I believe, 1 or 2 times. So that's where half the proceeds go. The other half goes towards like our server hosting.
Sometimes it's also a food shelter and you bring in food items.
Yeah, like the Ronald McDonald House that they're doing now, you can bring in like items to donate off of their recommended list, and you can also bring in the tabs from your soda or pop, depending on what state
Which
you live
May
in.
has been collecting for 4 years because we drink a lot of diet.
And I haven't. That would be for me because I have been collecting them since the last Annie.
I have not been contributing because I'm irresponsible.
I keep trying to shame him into popping all the tabs off of his cans, and he refuses.
I'm immune to
So
shame.
that is just from the ones I have saved. You're gonna make here pop.
Chunk, and I thought those were just like you had everybody else's for some
No,
reason.
no. These were literally 4 years of soda tabs that I keep like stashing, and I moved them from Maryland to Tennessee so I could bring them.
Oh my gosh, that's
I'm dedicated.
Well, another thing that the money goes towards is the Robert Jordan Scholarship that we give, and that's anyone in the world is eligible for the scholarship towards continuing education in any way, shape, or form that's going to benefit humanity. So,
And that's up to $500. And the past couple years, we've been able to award 2 scholarships. Back in the day, it was 1, but right now we're able to do that for 2 people.
we do good things.
We do. We also have a lot of fun.
When we can fit it in.
Oh my God.
So on top of that, with the silent auction and just everybody getting together, we also have several different activities that we do over the weekend. Like one of the more popular ones is the Armelins tournament. So does anybody want to fill us in on what the Armelins tournament is?
So part of that was the trivia that we mentioned earlier was labeled as a battle of wits. The Armelins tournament is a series of events that members can compete in to curry favor with the Amerlin. There was the Battle of Wits, which was the trivia. There was the Battle of Strength, which is the sword combat event today, which I believe was won by Locke.
Sion is a red Aja, and is, to be clear, not real swords. We're not using like bladed weapons, but you know,
They're kendo swords.
Yeah, they're
right?
kendo.
Use your imagination.
bamboo,
It could be whatever.
samurai sword. Yeah, okay.
Some people use side.
It makes a really satisfying sound when it hits someone.
I saw somebody with a lightsaber. It was legit.
I missed that part.
Tomorrow is the Battle of
I don't know what it's
agility.
called.
It's
the obstacle course.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, obstacle course. It's really more various games to entertain our new Amerlin Cassie.
And I will say that all of the activities, yes, for the sword fighting, you need to be physically able to do it, but we do work to accommodate all sorts of
Everyone can
levels.
join.
So this obstacle course, don't
It's
think
not
traditional
an
obstacle.
actual
It's
obstacle.
more like, party games kind of thing with some challenges in there so that regardless of physical ability,
Yeah.
you should be able to
As
participate.
mentioned earlier, this is a drinking club with a book problem. Nobody here participates in American Ninja Warrior.
I mean, you don't know.
So what's the last event for tomorrow?
There's a Battle of the Makers, which I believe is still a surprise.
It's secret. You can't know.
Yeah, as they put in the agenda for the weekend for the program is no spoilers here.
Yeah.
So I think what's also really interesting, and this is actually something I didn't know. I feel ashamed I didn't use the library to its fullest extent, but I didn't actually know this. I know she's gonna hate me until straight to gray jail. But I didn't know this until we did trivia the other night. And one of the trivia questions was who were all the Amerlins that the site has ever had, and in the 21 years that the site has existed, there's only been 5.
Yeah.
Yep.
And one of them held it for 10 years.
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah. And what was such a big, and I think that's what, at least for me, especially as a newbie, I think that's what makes this Annie such a big deal. Not just because it's my first, but because to actually see the investiture of a new Amerlin is so rare.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a big
And there's a lot
deal.
of work that goes into it to keep it authentic. Like, there's jokes about this being a cult. Yeah, kind of is.
I mean, we have ceremonies.
We do. And we follow the books as much as we can. We take the scripts from the book. There, everyone does their parts.
And
Yeah.
the other thing that happens at Annie often, we have raising ceremonies. So,
I was raised at a local event.
all right. So in the Gray Aja, we were able to raise 2 new Gray aspirants this time and raise them to Sedai. And those things happen on the boards as well on the site in a virtual way. But here, it's a surprise to the people who are being raised. So when we did that last night, the Amerlin would call on whoever was representing the Aja, and then they grab their people and bring them up to the stage, and it's done in front of everyone in a really public way.
The Red
Really
Aja
fun.
made bank.
Yes. Red got 3.
So many
4
reds.
So who did Gray capture this time?
So the Gray Aja raised Morena Sedai and Arena Sedai. And we have, there are 3 Gray Sedai who are already here, Megana, myself, Maybella, and Sierra. And we also have Veriendha here, who is a Gray aspirant. There are some minimum times that you need to be an aspirant before you can be raised, and she hadn't quite met that requirement yet. So soon, it's okay. Red had some raisings. Who else had raisings?
There was a novice to a soldier.
Yeah.
So we don't follow the strict gender guidelines because that would be silly. So we had a gentleman who started as a novice, but then decided he wanted to go the soldier route, Gaidin. So he's kind of seen the best of both worlds. So he was raised from novice to soldier.
Yeah.
So
And then today we had a bonding that was recognized on site. So we had a green Sedai who bonded a ward or a Gaidin of Valquerin. That happened. And another thing that happens at Annie a lot are first sibling ceremonies. Those are not official, recognized by the site, but
they kind of are.
they are. They're recorded in the library.
Yes.
And there's an official ceremony, but it's not regulated by the
So
site.
it kind of is regulated. It came about where at the beginning of the site, you could have a signature at the bottom of your posts that it would populate every time you posted something, and it would say, you had so many characters, and people were just, they would become really good friends with someone, and they'd say, well, I'm first sister with this person, and I'm first sister with that person, and they had these long signatures with all these people they were first sisters with, and it kind of became a problem because there was very little space for all that data. And so they decided to regulate it by saying, if you really want to have a first sibling, you actually must meet in person and go through the ceremony.
You had to apply too to be approved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it had to be approved, and it had to be in person. It couldn't be done. So that's sort of how they helped reduce that data load. So it's sort of official, sort of not.
But then they eventually get away with the requirement for it to be in person, and they did away with the requirement that the site has to approve it. So they say it's unofficial because again it's not regulated, whereas water bonds are regulated. You can have a certain number depending on what that is. So those are really very touching. They recognize the first siblings recognize a really good close relationship between people, and if you have the privilege to witness one, just about everybody sheds a tear here and there because it really is an amazing thing to be part of.
We have 2 new friends coming to join us.
So if you guys would, go ahead and give your name, and if you want to give your Aja or company.
All right, so my tower name is Raihin Al Hut, or Ryan Al Hut, however you'd like to pronounce it. And I have been a member for a little over a year. I started in September of 2021. And this community in the last year and 2 months has been, it's been absolutely everything I could have asked for in terms of a great community of people who have really, really shown me a lot of care, a lot of love, a lot of, well, frankly, one of the best book series I've ever read. So, as somebody who has only really read academically in my life, it's been great to kind of read for leisure. And to be fair, I'm only up to end of book 6, Lord of Chaos. So it's definitely something that I have, enjoyed in the last about year and a half. And this has all been thanks to one of my great friends and partners, Aideen. She's part of the Yellow Aja, and she's here as well. So
She's my yellow fellow.
Yay.
yeah.
Well, actually, Irene is actually the gentleman we were discussing who went from novice to soldier.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Perfect time.
Actually, twice. Well, I was also saying that your music questions and the trivia were my favorite ones.
Yes, those were such good questions.
Yeah. That's great.
This is so reassuring to hear, especially on the podcast, because especially coming in as somebody who's new, you have a lot of self-doubt about coming up with creative ideas and topics. And it was something I was even expressing to a lot of people in our Aja was, a lot of people in my girlfriend's Aja is like, how do I feel like I'm doing? And the feedback I've gotten has been awesome. It's been so encouraging. So I'm happy I got to participate in at least the trivia part of the Annie party.
You're one of us.
As they generally say, once you join, you're here forever.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's been a wonderful part of the community. I fell away for many years when I was going to nursing school, and every time I would drag myself back onto the boards, it's like you never leave. You're welcomed right back into the fold. So it's been a wonderful family.
And people go through seasons in life, and the best friendships are the ones that you can just fall back into line with easily. And the tower's kind of like that. You may come into a busy season in life, whether it be getting married, having kids, going to college, starting a new career, and you just do not have as much time as you used to post on the boards.
Spam the boards.
But you eventually come back and you find that most of the relationships you made and the friendships that you grew are still there, and they never deteriorated while you were gone. And that's always a good feeling.
Well, at one time I rivaled Allura for
Number of posts.
posts.
You will never catch up to her.
Never. I can't.
Not anymore.
Just wait until there's
The next great reset?
the great reset. So when the boards ever have to be cleared for any reason, those things will reset, and then you might have a chance for like a week.
Oh, it's on.
There used to be a spam thread.
You're right. For a week, I'll probably be like, I got this, and then she'll smoke me.
So I guess we're pretty far into the podcast at this point, but it seems that a lot of you are very experienced with, the tower and everything in and about it. Is this your first Annie?
No.
Benji.
It is not my first Annie. My first Annie was in 2015 at Red Top Mountain, Georgia State Park.
Beautiful.
It was a fantastic Annie. We had a lot of good times. It was a very, very different time back then. And it was May's first Annie as well.
Yeah, so that I had been to a Jordan Con before, but that was my first Annie.
We both went to Jordan Con 2014.
Yeah, I think so. This is we were talking before about how it's very uncommon to be in attendance when there's an Amarlin ceremony. The 2 Annies I have been to have both had an Amarlin ceremony. So the funny part about this is that as part of the ceremony, 2 representatives from each membership group participate in the ceremony, and this time it was great. We had plenty of Greys here, so the 2 Greys got to be part of it. But back in 15? Back in 2015, I was a Grey aspirant, and I was the only Grey at this entire event. So they had to have special permission for me, not yet raised Sedai, to sit in and participate and represent the Aja in the raising ceremony for Red, who was coming from Red to Redmore. Sedai was coming from the Red, and she became Amarlin. She's now in Brown. And we also had an empty chair with a Grey shawl on it to represent the other person who did not exist at the time. So that was a really cool experience, and that was my first time as well.
This is my second one. My first one was 2017, when I was also the only Grey.
Where was that?
That was in Estes Park, Colorado. And I went to the event. It was my first official tower event, and I went knowing nobody. Like, no Greys were there, and the only people I even knew that I'd spoken or met, I think, there were like 2 people that I'd ever talked to. So I knew nobody. So it was a very strange experience. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I kind of drifted away from the tower for a few years. And then I came back like in the last year and fell in again very quickly. And here I am. And this time all my Greys are here, and it's a very different experience. And I know so many more people. Like, Discord has been magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discord's great.
I mean, we talk about hiding in our little groups, but Discord, we're all spread all over the place now. And I know so many people outside of Grey, and it's, amazing.
So do y'all remember back in the day we had chat? We had like a live
chat. The IRC thing?
Yeah, the IRC chat. That was before Discord popped off and became a thing. There was an actual chat room that we had that people used to spam the crap.
I found it terrifying.
I avoided it like the plague. It was scary.
So when I joined the tower, I joined because I worked. I've never been to a convention before, and I was a huge Wheel of Time fan. Been reading it since I was in 3rd grade. And I was looking up Wheel of Time conventions, and I found a website for JordanCon, and Tarvalon was listed on that. So I went to the site and found the chat room, and I worked 3rd shift as an unarmed security guard, and I used to spend from 10 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning just typing in that chat room the entire time. It was with Will and at Darian from SDS. You remember Darian?
I do.
Naimala, my Sedai, and a ton of people. That chat room was the best. I miss it.
It's too much. I can't imagine.
Right?
That's
too much.
in one channel.
It was.
Were there still a few channels?
There were. Each Aja and each company had their own channel, but it was
still
never
a lot.
popular.
Nobody.
It's still crazy used.
As someone who found their way to their site last year, this is my first event. This is my first anniversary party. And again, what an honor to be here for the 21st anniversary. 21st birthdays are usually the rowdy and fun ones, and this was no exception. So it was really great to meet everybody in person, especially in such a short amount of time. A lot of people have waited over a decade to meet people in person that they have interacted with and have found to be very close to them. So I'm very fortunate that I got to ingratiate myself very early on, and everyone here has been an absolute blast to hang out with and have treated me very well. A little insider baseball. A couple of days ago we met, and I took a little fall today. To put it lightly, just a little fall. So I got a little bit of a scraped up right leg, and
Thank goodness for liability.
And
Thank
safety committees.
goodness.
Because we do have a safety committee. It's a thing.
Annika stepped up big time and really helped me out tonight. And it just goes with the community. Everyone here has been so welcoming and so kind. So I'm very happy that this is my first event.
One of many.
So can you guys speak to what went on tonight? Like, not that we kind of already went over the investiture of the Amerlin, and then we left the rec hall.
Yeah.
We all came back to our cabins. Like, what went down?
At the cabins, always a good time. This is when we have our own personal toasts. There's one giant toast for the entire community who's here at the party on the first night. So Friday night, we had one toast.
With the cold lager.
Yep,
With the story.
with a story. The story of the origin of the tower for our community is given, and then everyone goes around and toasts to something. It could be anything. It can be humorous. It can be serious. It can be whatever speaks to your heart. And then tonight, after our new Amerlin's investiture, we came back here to our cabins, and the individual companies and Ajas do their own. So we had our yellow. I'm one of the yellow Aes Sedai, and so the 3 yellows that are here, plus our warders and our aspirants, were here for the toast, and it's toasting anything from, meeting new people, the people we miss, the people that we wish were here, to just why you decided to come, to why you're part of the group, and honestly, you're welcome at any of the groups' toasts. I think I crashed the Reds for a bit. Yeah. So yeah, it's just sort of a reiteration as to why we're all very close, why we all come here, why we're kind of a family. So that's what we did.
This particular cabin that we're in has an abundance of grays, so we also had
It's an
the gray toast
infestation.
here.
Yeah, so you want to tell them about our toast with like who was on our call? Or no?
Who was her?
So people who
All
were
the Euro grays.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing now is we have the technology. We had, our 5 grays here, our aspirant, our warders, and we had like half a dozen people on a call from Discord that couldn't be here in person but could still do toast with us, and we could see them and they could see us. So
yeah, that was really cool. And sometimes you have a few extra people, like you say, like who might be in your cabin, or who's married into your group, or who's whatever it is. It's not like
who just belongs here.
right,
Everyone's
exactly.
welcome.
It's not a super exclusive thing.
Yeah, most people aren't super picky about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, don't crash everybody's party, but the thing is, like, if you're there, you're probably welcome. It's fine.
Yeah.
But-
yeah.
If you're the only one, someone else usually invites
Yeah,
you.
and that's too, when I was the only
And we get
gray.
mad when you don't.
Right. When I was the only gray, I got invited to so many. Like, I was like moving from cabin to cabin, toast here, toast there. And this year we have one
man.
white
White.
Aja. Only one. And that's
Yeah.
I
unusual.
think the 2015 Annie, I went to obviously the DM toast because I'm part of a DM. And then we also went to the SDS toast. We went to the green toast. We went to the blue toast.
Yeah. And there was no gray. So everyone was like, oh, you should come here. You
Yeah.
should come here. We went everywhere.
Yeah, I think the yellow we had an SDS that we insisted stay.
In
Yeah,
2017,
we didn't give them choice.
I don't know who would have invited me because we drove all night to get there, and so I went to bed like after dinner. I skipped the trivia, I skipped everything, and somebody from, I might even Kellyan from White came and woke me up and was like, "Do you want to join our toast?" And I'm like, What's a toast? I haven't slept all
Yeah,
2
but to
days.
make sure you
Piece of bread that you put butter on.
Right, you toast it.
Yeah.
And the next day I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Like, I feel like I missed something important."
Hey, Calvin, he was another one of my mentors, along with Locust.
We have a mentor-mentee system that's amazing. New members are paired up with a senior member, so a Guideen or an Aes Sedai. 2 now. Oh, that's good. And they kind of help you kind of learn the ropes, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. One of the big things that we're just always kind of harping on is respecting everyone. So they're kind of your accountability buddy.
They're there to, if you have questions, you can go to them with your questions. They're there to help make you feel welcomed.
Very.
It can be intimidating depending on what your familiarity level is with like internet communities. So they're there to help you feel more comfortable. And then if you're unsure about what's allowed and what's not, where you should post, is it okay to jump into a conversation? they're the person that you should feel most comfortable talking to figure out, how it works.
And as somebody who was recently raised to a soldier, I spoke with in detail Iban Kasai from the Blue Aja, and they were my one mentor. They were a fantastic resource for learning about the different Ajas, kind of linking a newer member as myself. That was one of the newer things that I came around to find out was there was a whole library of knowledge between the different Ajas and companies, and you get partnered with somebody who has a lot of knowledge and really helps you find what you need to know before potentially seeking out who you would like to guest with, be raised with. It's a fantastic resource that Tarvalon.net has to offer, and they have provided nothing but fantastic feedback and knowledge about the site, something that a novice or somebody who is just getting started with the website wouldn't necessarily know about. There's always a mentor system, and that's a fantastic part about Tarvalon.net.
We're kind of cool.
Just a little. Some days, on Tuesdays.
So
Only on Tuesdays.
So I guess to wind down on that, we're in our throes of our Saturday Night Toasts at anniversary. We've still got a day to go. So
Yes.
There's still fun ahead for us. But do all of you have any final thoughts that you'd like to put on to our listeners out there before we end the podcast for the evening?
Final thoughts. Attend as many live events as you can. Not that you can likely do many, but if you ever have an opportunity to attend a live event, go. If you're nervous about going, there's a planning forum leading up to the event where you can ask questions of other people who might be new. You will always get put into a cabin with other people. Whatever you're grouping, you'll be with other people and you'll have a chance to get to know them. But take the chance and attend. And if you have any concerns or nerves about it, reach out to your mentor, reach out to someone, reach out and ask who you can talk to. If you want someone to be your buddy at the event, there's plenty of people who would volunteer to usher you from place to place, introduce you to things. But having attended, you will have a very different perspective on the community.
We have several members that basically stay on the community, even if their time doesn't allow for a lot of posting and keeping up with people. They live for the live events. So you kind of see a different side of the tower where there's a lot of people that may not be as active in the community anymore, but are still very active in the live events. And this is my fourth one. And every time I come, I just kind of beat myself up. Why did I stop posting for a while? Why didn't I? But then they're so welcoming. You're right back into it. And it's, you have automatic friends and no one judges you ever. Everything's accepted. It's just beautiful.
From a newbie perspective, hey, my name is blank. I'm just finding the Wheel of Time TV series. I'm just reading the Wheel of Time book series for the first time. Tarvalon.net is a place that you can go as a newcomer and really discover all there is to know about Wheel of Time. And it's a great place to ingratiate yourself with people who've been around for a while and are willing to learn, take a chance on you, and really, again, kind of just enjoy the fandom as a whole. There's so much to discover, and it's a really, really great resource for somebody who wants to kind of join the fan community. So as a novice or a newbie or just somebody finding the TV show or book series for the first time, look into it.
Come join our cult.
Come join the cult.
We're a benevolent cult.
Thanks for listening to this Sounding of the Horn. Subscribe to the podcast to get updates on new, regularly scheduled episodes, as well as every Sounding of the Horn that comes down the road. Thanks for listening.